Friday, my friends. Okay, so welcome back to Forever Conscious Research Channel. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I've got a really nasty toothache. Definitely gotta be heading to the dentist. So I took an edible tonight, so might get a little loopy later on in the show, or maybe soon, I don't know. So just warn you in advance. So the show today we're going to be starting a new series, kind of like the other series. I'll put out episodes as they come along, back and forth. So today's episode is the Coma Diaries. This will be episode 1 of an ongoing series. So anyways, let's see. So this poor man been through absolute hell. Now, I don't know if any of you read the description tab, but like with the NDEs, the negative NDEs, the hell-like NDEs, they're underreported, okay? And according to the data from people like, God, having a brain fart already. Anyways, sorry. According to the data, name's Raymond Moody. Good Lord. Oh my God, I probably shouldn't even be doing this. Okay. Anyways, Dr. Raymond Moody, he, I think last was it 10 to 15% of NDEs are of a negative nature, while the rest are usually, heavenly, divine, love and light type stuff. Now with comas and ICU admissions under anesthesia, the negativity goes way up. It goes to 30 to 40% or 30 to 50%. And the rest are more of a positive nature or something like a void-like state that isn't negative. So you can see there's a big jump in the experience as far as negativity goes from NDEs versus the coma and ICU patients who are put under anesthesia. So, and a lot of these coma patients, when they come back out, they are wrestling with so much. It's really, really sad and difficult to witness, and you'll see this tonight in this commentary. And I just want to also say that, viewer discretion is advised times a million. Okay, this is a very, very difficult case to listen to. I had to pause it a few times, and I feel like even doing commentary with it just isn't right, but because it really does stand on its own merit and speaks for itself. But again, due to the whole copyright thing, I got to put some input in here and there. And I'm not sure this is a possibility, and no promises on this, but Dan may also make an appearance to discuss this. I sent him the files to the videos, and he may pop up at some point, but we'll see. So, what I'm briefly going to do is read off of the, where'd it go? He had a post in Reddit. And okay, here. Oh, no, that's not it. All right. Okay. One moment. Okay, so this is just a really, really brief post that he made. And then, of course, a lot of people responded, and he did put up videos too. And what we're going to do is this is going to be broken down into 3 parts. The first part will be him discussing his what happened to him. The second segment will be the first segment is basically about his, what occurred, the accident while he was bicycling. And then the second part will be this loop experience. And then there's a different experience later on, which will be part 3. And, as if the other experience isn't bad enough. The last one is absolutely wretched. So just to give you a heads up, we're looking at about an hour of video minus, I'm sorry, not including commentary. So just want to give you a heads up on that as well. So what I'm going to do is, again, just read this very briefly, and then I'm going to play the video and he'll explain further in more detail what happened. So he says, I was a patient and I was sideswiped by a car, then ran over by a truck behind while cycling to work. I was essentially impaled by my right femur, which shattered my pelvis and shoved bone fragments into my guts. Last thing I remember before I got knocked out for surgery was the surgeon telling me everything was going to be fine and it was all routine. I didn't wake up for a month. When I did, I was missing the entire left leg and most of the muscle tissue in the right. I was too weak to move much, couldn't talk because I had a tube through my neck, and I was very uncertain about reality to what I went through in my coma. Parades of doctors came to tell me how I should be dead, and it's crazy that I lived. I was told over and over that my survival was very much against all odds. My surgeon, on the other hand, never said anything like that. He always maintained that he was going to get me through. His attitude honestly helped me when I had to go back to this table a few more times before I was done. For 4 years, I kind of blew off the people who made a big deal about my survival. I adopted my orthopedic doctor's attitude. When I met a woman who's in the medical field, I fell in love and eventually trusted her enough to let her read my medical records. I had never read them because it's a massive pile of paperwork. She broke down crying and couldn't read anymore. She told me that the beginning of my time in the hospital was full of type of write-ups you find in the morgue. Oh, full of write-ups like you'd find in the morgue. Okay. She told me that when they opened me up, bits of my pelvis fell out. I asked her to stop there. She won't read anymore, and I don't want to know anymore. I know my doctor has one hell of a poker face. So again, this is what we're getting into. So again, last chance for the viewer discretion warning. And just really quickly, I know I saw in the chat, and then I know a bunch of people have commented over the time asking me to do more commentaries on negative NDEs and these types of things. I really have to be in the right state of mind to do them. They're difficult. It's already hard enough kind of covering all this stuff, so I'll do them every once in a while, but you know, it's the same song and dance. So compounding the misery and stuff like that, it's just, it's too much. It's too much. So you'll see them here once in a while, but just wanted to say that really quick. Okay, so let's get right into this. Here we go.
Hello, and welcome to Life on Hard Mode, which is going to be my slice of life disabled video series that I'm going to do. And it's going to be a mixture of videos where you see how I have to do things, or people in general in chairs have to do things, and others like this today where I will be discussing various aspects of disabled life. And today's video is simply the story of how I became disabled, because that is one of the frequently asked questions when I do my live shows, the most frequently asked question. And instead of constantly answering that question and telling my story 10,000 times, I would rather just get the big gist of it out of the way here in this video and redirect those questions to here, so that those live shows can be used for, you know, other more in-depth questions. So without further ado, how am I disabled? If you've never seen me before, I am what you call a double amputee. On the right side, I'm an above knee amputee, and on the left side, I'm what you call a hip disarticulate amputee, which means that they remove the entirety of my left leg. There's nothing left. It's just, when you look at it in an x-ray, it's just pelvis. On October 2nd, 2014, I was cycling to work. It was about 6:45 in the morning, and I had been doing that for about 2 months in order to lose weight and save money. Today was different, or well, that day was different. I was cycling along, and I guess I hit a patch of bad road, and it crumbled underneath my bicycle wheel, and that caused me to lose balance just enough. I tilted to the left and wobbled, and that was enough. That changed everything. I was sideswiped by what I perceived to be something green and knocked to the ground. When I tried to sit up, I was hit by something else. I perceived that I was hit anyway. And when I became aware of my situation, I felt grass under this arm. I tried to pull myself off the road, and as soon as I moved, that's when the pain hit. The pain was extraordinary. I distinctly remember things moving inside of me, like these weird, dense, like clacking noises inside of my intestinal area. All I could do until the ambulance got there was to scream. There are levels of pain out there that your humanity gets shut off. And all you can do is become a howling animal on the side of the road. You are completely absorbed by your pain. It is that extraordinarily bad. And so that's what I did. I remember that there were people all around me trying to soothe me, trying to help me, all kinds of stuff. But I don't remember what any of them looked like or anything like that. I just remember how much it hurt and how badly I wanted it to not hurt anymore. And how much I thought I was going to die because it was that level of pain. The movies always express that, after a certain threshold of pain, you kind of pass out. And maybe that threshold exists, but I didn't experience it. I was conscious through the whole thing. And the pain was all encompassing. It was everything. And I didn't pass out. So the ambulance finally gets there. I get loaded up and they shoot me up with morphine. Pain washes away. And I call my boss and I call my then girlfriend. Explain the situation. Off to the hospital I go. And at the hospital, I remember my doctor saying, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right. We're going to get you patched up. We're going to put you down for surgery. And, that'll be that. Don't worry. And I went to sleep. And I didn't wake up for a month. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and backtrack, and I'm going to explain to you what actually happened when I was out there. So the first car was indeed a sideswipe. The green flash I saw was a green Mustang. It sideswiped me and pushed me to the ground. Now, on the second hit, what I perceived to be a hit, I was wrong. It was actually a lifted truck that was right behind the green Mustang, and it ran me over. I went underneath the wheels, and it caught my legs. And I was at an angle that when it caught my legs, it ground them against the gravel, and it shoved this one, my right leg, through my pelvis, drove my femur right up through my pelvis, shattered my pelvis, and drove all those bone fragments into me. So that's the pain I was feeling.
Can you believe this? We're just getting started. Again, viewer discretion advised.
My own femur and, shattered pelvis were impaling me. So, now you know. Now, what happened at the hospital diverges. And there's going to be a second video to explain this part, which is what I went through in my anesthetic coma. This video is for the physical part in the real world. As for this part, I'll just explain to you that I was in here the entire time, and it was horrible. It's a lot of nightmares, torture, death, looping and looping and looping and looping. And we'll get to that in another video because it's a long discussion. As for what was happening in the real world, they pulled my leg out, my right leg out of my pelvis, had it anchored with weights, and I guess the surgery went okay. They started stitching back my pelvis, all that stuff. Surgery, yay, except for one thing. They caused something called compartment syndrome, which happens when there's an invasive surgery or you're impaled by something or whatever. When you close back up, sometimes a little pocket of air gets left behind. And that fills up with fluid, and that fluid turns necrotic, i.e. it dies. And that turns into horrifying infection. And that's what happened to me. After the surgery, I had a pocket somewhere inside of me. That pocket filled with fluid, fluid died, turned necrotic, infection. My whole body puffed up 3 times its size. I looked like a meaty marshmallow melting in the sun. I had to be kept down.
Now, just think about this. I'm telling you, it gets way crazier, way worse, way more vile. Okay, now this is obviously horrible, absolutely horrible. But it gets worse. And just think about how he was. I don't know what happened, because in my opinion, if you're going through something like this for a month, even though there are no near-death experience qualities, although some negative NDEs, we do see kind of a loop feature where people are being prodded and messed with, and it just kind of rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. It's not, I mean, it's not overwhelmingly common where we can actually say, hey, that's a data point, but what he goes through later on is this looping effect. It's absolutely repulsive, disgusting, and vile. So I'm thinking in the back of my head, this poor guy ended up, must have been swindled into coming back here. I really can't fathom that not happening. And you'll see as we go along that it just feel it in my bones. You know, I just feel it, that it's probably what happened. But, you know, that's just an opinion, of course. So
they couldn't allow me to wake up. I was so inflamed, my eyeballs were bulging out of my head to the point that my eyelids were forced open. And there's a picture of me where it looks like I'm looking into the camera. I'm not conscious. I'm barely alive. I'm almost dead. It's just that I'm puffed out that badly. They had to split me from here all the way up to here. They split me open because the pressure was building so badly that the skin was threatening to just rip. And it killed 100% of the tissue in my left leg. My left leg became a house for infection, and that was it. My organs were shutting down. I was going to die. I was absolutely 100% going to die. My family was brought in to say goodbye. The doctor said there's a 2% chance we can save him if we take his left leg. All of it. My then girlfriend was the one that had to sign off on that decision. They took my entire left leg and 60% of the muscle out of my right leg. I still had my right leg. But removing 60% of the muscle tissue from a leg renders it useless. So that's how I woke up. After I puffed up, after they took the leg, that 2% chance, I won the world's worst lottery. I began to, lose my inflammation. My body, aside from the weight I had lost from the removal of my left leg and most of the muscle tissue from my right, I'd lost an additional 90 some odd pounds just from my body fighting the infection. So when I woke up, I wasn't puffy. I was gaunt. You could see my ribs. My skin would just kind of hang in like curtains off of my arms because it was just bone, so atrophied. I was weak. Very weak. I could barely lift my arms. I couldn't really use my fingers. I couldn't talk because I was still eating, drinking, and breathing. I was cathetered. I had a colostomy. I had tubes running out of my wounds. Every kind of tube and wire you could think of, I had it. And I still had to go through surgeries. I went through, I think, 3 more surgeries after I had woke up.
You believe that? Gets his ass kicked on the table and has to go through more surgeries.
Over a dozen when I was down.
Ugh.
And so from there began a very lengthy road to recovery. It took a week before they took that out and I could put this thing in here so I could talk. It was like a little plug. And eventually I could tape that over and I could just talk. First I couldn't talk. I had to write letters with hands that didn't work. I couldn't open a can of soda. I couldn't lift my arms up like this. There was so much I couldn't do. I got tired just from laying in my bed, which I was bedridden for 3 months. And then the last month I spent in rehab, which they got me out of my chair and, sorry, not out of my chair, out of my bed. And I practiced rolling around. I practiced strength training at first with balloons filled with air, just throwing them back and forth. And that would exhaust me. That would exhaust me. Just a balloon. Sometimes it's hard to think about where you came from. Even after it's been years now, and I still it's difficult to go back there, like in my headspace. So 3 months hospitalization, very basic rehab. 1 month more intense rehab, still not as intense as it got. They tried to give me an electric chair. I got a manual. I demanded a manual. I came home still weak. I look like a crackhead. I was so weak and gaunt, and I looked like I just survived cancer, barely. Which I guess, after a fashion, I kind of did. I
way crazier than cancer. Then again, I've never had cancer, but it's really this one hurts. It does.
I stared down death and I won. And I had this little girl waiting for me at home, this little daughter. She was a little over 1 at that point. And I hadn't seen her except for once while I was in the hospital. And she didn't know me. Why would she? She hadn't seen me in months, and she was 6 months old when I went to the hospital, so she didn't, her brain wasn't operating at a memory level yet, so she didn't know me. And I was prepped to give up. I was prepped to just take opiates. Doctors were throwing them at me anyway. Nobody would judge me. Just take opiates forever. Just give up. Because I used to be seen as the big, tough guy, the pillar. I used to be seen as intimidating. I wasn't trying to be intimidating. I just looked that way, I guess. I was seen as like a man. And I despise be a man culture. I despise machismo and all that horse shit that goes into it. But I didn't realize how much I actually leaned on it as part of my identity. I was no longer strong. I was quite weak. I couldn't do anything myself anymore. I needed so much help. My fierce independence gone. Constantly needing help. Constantly, I would go and try to do things myself and break down crying when I realized I needed help for simple things that I didn't even think twice about.
Just kind of like what I said in the beginning, is it's hard to do commentary on this whole case. But I gotta pop in and say something once in a while, just on the off chance something ever gets hit with copyright. But it's just a heartbreaking testimony, and we'll continue to listen. And again, I warn each and every one of you that, you know, what you've heard is just the tip of the iceberg.
Going to the bathroom was hard. Putting on clothes was hard. Everything was hard. Getting into bed was hard. Being with my little girl, not hard. I was willing to hurt in order to hold her. I was willing to put myself in great pain to get on the floor with her. I read to her every single night, just like before the accident. Every night. And I remember this one moment that changed everything. She, to anybody outside, it would have just been a cute little baby being a cute little baby. But I'd been home for a couple of months, and she grabbed a CD case from close to where her books were. She didn't realize it was just a CD case. She thought it was a book. And she's crawling. She just started crawling real well, and she's crawling towards me, trying to hold the CD case. Trying to hold the CD case and get it to me so that I could read to her. Fuck. Pardon me. And I knew I wasn't going to let it be like that. She thought it was a book. Her mom thought it was cute. I was crying, like I'm trying not to now, because I saw it for what it was. She went through all that effort to get it to me, because even as a little kid, you know, she saw, you know, I got to bring this to Daddy in order to get read to. I can't let it be like that. So I started working out. I started figuring out how to get back in my chair from the floor. I started figuring out how to transfer between things without using a slide board, which is this hard board that you put between the things and you slide over it. I learned how to boost, which is picking myself up with just my arms. At this time, I still had a useless right leg, and I did my best to build it up, and it never came back. I had to wait to handle that. I worked out, and I worked out, and I worked out, and I got stronger, and I got stronger, and I got stronger.
He's a fucking warrior. This man is a warrior. I've heard a lot of shit in my days, a lot of crazy cases of experiencers, but I'm telling you, this one takes the cake. I mean, there have been some dark ones we've discussed on this channel, but this is probably the tip of the iceberg. I mean, it beats them all. But it doesn't matter, right? Because what are we doing? We're talking about suffering, right? We're talking about absolute misery, torture. And this guy somehow came out the other end as best he could. As a daughter, as a wife. Realized what he needed to do to be as content as he can in life. And I respect the hell out of him.
I worked out and I worked out and I worked out. And I got stronger and I got stronger and I got stronger. More and more able. I went from being able to grab her books myself to being able to pick her up, being able to do everything I used to do. Difficult, more difficult, for sure, for sure. Life from a wheelchair is hard. But I figured it out. I made it work for her. And then for myself. Then my wait for Medicare to kick in ended. They make you wait 2 years for your Medicare to kick in. And as soon as it did, I told my orthopedic doctor to cut my right leg off just above the knee. Because by that point, I had trained in a prosthetic on my left side, full leg prosthetic, and I had this right side in a brace. And the brace was so difficult to use, so uncomfortable, so painful, that there was never a hope of walking, never. Not as long as I had that right leg. Without the brace, my right leg never would be able to be strong enough to hold my weight up. The muscle tissue was just didn't exist. Muscle tissue doesn't grow back. Once they cut out those muscle fibers, they're gone. They're gone. So
it makes you wonder. Now, granted, yes, there are many different ways people heal, but it makes you wonder what the hell was going through the doctor's head. You know, I'm not judging, but, you know, he's been through hell and back, and then he's trying to do rehab and pushing through as best he can. But meanwhile, in the back of his head, he knows the muscle's dead. It's not going to regenerate. But the weird thing is we've seen so many just crazy different ways that people heal in the most, impossible scenarios. Like someone goes through something like he went through and somehow comes out the other end and is able to heal themselves or even maybe regenerate muscle. I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough to say for certain, but I've seen other things that defy all logic, at least from the medical community standpoint. But of course, we're not allowed to talk about those things, so.
I finally was able to get my right leg cut off above the knee, and that's why I am now a double amputee. I continue to work out. I continue to work hard. Not just in physicality, but I do volunteering work. I'm a very dedicated father. And I am attempting to go back to school in hopes of maybe one day being a trauma counselor, helping those that have been through something similar that can't find their way out of the darkness just yet. Sometimes somebody who's been there is best to light the way. And that'll do it for my first video detailing how did I lose those legs. I hope you guys found it informative. There will be more videos in the future touching upon frequently asked questions when I do my Ask Me Anythings on Periscope. And there will be, humorous videos as well and some philosophy.
Okay, so that is the first video. And I am going to sneak in one more. This is very brief. But I want to show you, again, what a warrior we're dealing with here. This is him. And the title is, Who Needs Legs to Climb?
Alright, this is another attempt at getting to the top. Let's see if this one's successful.
Go, buddy, go. That's great.
I know.
Oh crap.
Good job, brother. Good job. Yeah. Yeah, he is a legend. He is. Legend, a warrior. All right. So the next segment after the break is we're going to get into the coma details. We're going to get into the real meat and potatoes of what he went through. And just hang in there with me. Again, viewer discretion is advised throughout this entire video. But I want people to really think seriously while you're listening to the next segment. Think really clearly. For those that think this is a school, that this is a learning experience for your spiritual development. First off, if the segment we just went over wasn't enough, well, you just wait and see when we get to the next segment. It is appalling what this man has to go through. Okay? So not only did he go through absolute hell with the whole accident, I don't believe in accidents, the scripted event that was agreed to in his life script, but he also gets tortured. So he's getting tortured both ways. He's getting tortured while he's in the coma, and he's getting tortured, during the event, during the surgery, when he gets out, trying to rehab himself the best way he can. Shows us a video like we just saw where he's freaking climbing up a rock wall saying, who needs legs to climb? Really? I just do not have the patience anymore to talk to go back and forth about the whole school narrative in relation to this place. It is insanity. Okay? And again, this is what one case out of how much suffering that goes on in this freaking crazy realm. How much? One case. I know people have been through absolute hell. Shit. I have when I was younger and throughout my adult life. But, it's a drop in the bucket compared to most. Remember, if you've gone through hell, someone else has gone through way more hell. But does that justify the hell does that make up or justify the hell that you went through, or this guy went through, or any of you went through, or I went through? No. It's this sick mentality, the Stockholm syndrome within us, that justifies that this whole experience in the earth realm is noble. That it's a learning experience, that we're here to grow, etc., etc. That is not the case. It's simply not true. And I've proven this, and Dan's proven this, and Wayne's proven this over and over and over and over again till the cows come home. So please, my friends, if you're on the fence, don't let the whole school thing jargon you or get you lost, because it's so obvious that we're in a parasitical realm. We're in a parasitical experience, both here and in the astral realm. I mean, some people don't think that negative entities exist and that everything is love and light all the time. It's insanity. We've seen so many different examples over and over and over again where nothing fits, where there's clear-cut, demonic activity going on, parasitical activity going on, and it's not stopping, okay? Nothing is coming here to save us. Nothing is on our side but us, our individual self. Those are all we have. We have to look out for ourselves. We're the ones who can save ourselves. Can't change the world, can't save the world. All we can do is work on ourselves and hopefully within our, whoever's receptive. We can get out there and talk a little bit like we do here, or on forums, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Discord, Telegram, all these different places, Reddit. Spread the word. Let people know what the hell is going on here. Because who knows? I mean, the only reason I figured this out is because I have so much access to information. We live in this time where we have so much access to data. And that's what gives this whole damn thing away, because there's so much of it. It's undeniable. We cannot deny this. It's so blatant and in our face. So anyways, I'm just going to take 5 minutes or less and come back. And then we're going to get into the real nitty gritty of this. So hang in there with me for a little while. If you got to take a break, cool, but you do not want to miss this second segment. I'm telling you, it's crazy. But again, viewer discretion advised. Don't say I didn't warn you. I mean, if you made it through the first part, that was rough, but I mean, it's hard to imagine that it gets worse, but it does. All right. See you right soon. Thanks so much. Coming back here. Alright. Thank you for your patience, my friends. Ignore that clock there. What's up with that? Why is that going on? Hold on. Let's see. What the heck? Alright, that was strange with the camera freezing. Alright. Are we there? There we are. Okay. Okay. Alright, so, buckle up, my friends. We're going into the second segment. Now, all right, let me get this up here. All right. So again, this is the coma section, coma experience section, negative hell-like experience. And there are two parts of this. So this will be segment 2. Next one will be segment 3. The first one is 20 minutes, not including commentary. And then the second one is 10 minutes, not including commentary, just so you have an idea. All right, let's get going.
Hello, YouTube. I've been thinking about how to do this Coma Nightmare video and how to describe things to you and how to show you images and all this, that, and the other. And I've been just bogged down with thinking about this and finally getting like the entirety of it out there. The conclusion I came to is I should just start talking and put on the kind of video that I always have, which is me talking to you. Get it in my computer and do what I can with there and get it to you guys, because this is a promised thing and it is beginning to fade, and it's about time I tell the story, the complete and total story. So without further ado, here's episode 1. I'm not sure how many episodes there's going to be, but the one decision I did stick to is the fact that the story is long and attention spans on YouTube can be a bit short. There's so much good entertainment out there.
That's
how
sure.
long can I expect you to sit and listen to me talk about, the scary shit and horrifying stuff I went through in my nightmares? I mean, even that story gets dull after a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it up into sections, and this first section is going to detail like the first order series of dreams that I remember, and just kind of explain what being in your own coma nightmare hell is like, why certain things don't make sense, yada yada yada.
Okay, just to be upfront, again, this man's been through hell. he's only, as far as I see, put out 2 videos in relation to the experiences that he had while in the coma. And as you listen, you'll see that there was obviously more. But again, this man has been traumatized, and we have what we have from him. And, my heart goes out to him, and, I'm cheering behind him all the way just for what he's furnished to us so far. And hopefully down the road, maybe he'll find it within him to share more if he wants to.
I wasn't always honest when I talked about my coma nightmares. And by that I mean I didn't tell the whole truth, because there's a lot of little snippets that were just fragments of nightmares or horrors, or even little chunks of pleasantness that just zipped on by, and they were there and gone. And I remember them just as I remember everything else, but they were brief and they didn't really impact me as much as the big stuff you're going to hear me talk about. But since I want to discuss the full breadth of what I went through, I'm going to bring those into the fold. And that's going to change slightly the first dream I had. In the past, I talked about the Burger King, the apes, and the robot, and that's coming up. But first, I want to tell you about a banana treat that I still haven't found, and I should probably just make myself. I clearly remember going up to a food truck. It was a Mexican food truck. They sold tacos and stuff, and I was being told that they had the greatest dessert. And as far as I could tell, it was a frozen banana dipped and coated in chocolate, then blended into a smoothie. And there you go. And that's all it is. I've never had anything that was made like that in my entire life. I don't even think it had a name in the dream, but my mind concocted it for me and presented it to me. This is the very first thing I remember. And right here, we're going to put a little notation. Bing. Time in your coma nightmares is weird. It basically shouldn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's bizarre. It doesn't make sense. And I'm not entirely sure the sequence of events that I'm lining up to you are the actual sequence of events. It just might be the way my conscious mind tried to categorize everything after I finally came to. When you're in there, the part of your brain that understands the progression of time isn't working. So I think this is the first thing I dreamt. I am not entirely certain it is. And you're going to be hearing a lot of that, especially since this stuff is finally starting to fade from my memory, and I'm hoping that some of the darker things will fade, the things that really impacted me. I don't think they ever will, but one hopes. So, with that being said, the first thing I think I dreamt was this weird banana smoothie treat thing. And I was going to be a motivational speaker about being disabled.
Now, think about that, okay? It's a dream about him becoming a motivational speaker. And if you look at his YouTube channel, it does seem like that could have been his path. And in many ways it is. But what is that? That to me is like an NDE. That's like the mission. You have a purpose to fulfill. You can't come back. You can't come home yet. You can't come back. I'm sorry, you need to go back because you have a mission to fulfill. That's what it feels like. I mean, I know many of you have been watching for a while, and just think, I mean, it really, it smells just like it.
Being disabled. I was an amputee. It's one of the only times I've ever dreamt about being an amputee until very recently. I've only just recently started to dream myself in my chair. So one of the very first dreams I had, I was an amputee. I don't think it was the left leg. I keep thinking, I think it was the right one. I think what was happening were people in the real world were around me talking about my amputation, and some of that was filtering down into my subconscious. and it created the scenario for me. It didn't last long. And then everything went to shit. Here we go. Reality shifts in your coma nightmares. Shifts in your dreams. Think about your dreams, the ones that you remember, and think about, have you ever had a dream where the scenario you were in shifted to another scenario with little explanation or logic? It just happened. Well, that happens in your coma nightmares. And the thing about coma nightmares is your consciousness and your subconsciousness are fighting. Your subconsciousness is like keeping you from going lucid, which if you don't know what that is, you can look it up. You can kind of control yourself in dreams. You can control the environment. You can change things up. You're basically a god. I couldn't go lucid. I was put down. The drugs put me down. So I could never gain control. But I was lucid in the terms of my own like perceptions and thinking. I was there.
Okay, so again, this is a really important thing we need to distinguish between what is like an NDE or an out-of-body experience where you have lucidity and full control versus having something equivalent to like a lucid dream where it's just all wacky and the control factor is just kind of out the window. But you're aware, you're capable of doing some insane things. It's almost like you're in a sci-fi movie. I mean, so can astral projection, but really, really important areas to distinguish, because this is where it, kind of veers off into not being an NDE type of experience.
Part of my brain was trying to be conscious, which made the nightmares all the more real and probably was the big reason why I could feel them.
He explains this really well.
Or I could feel the surgery seeping down into them.
Now that's an important thing to remember for later. He can feel the surgery seeping down. So it's like he's going back and forth between the conscious and subconscious mind. Boop, 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 boop.
Feel them. Or I could feel the surgery seeping down into them. The first dream where I lost my mind, I started the journey to going mad, was a ruined Burger King in darkness. Not slightly ruined, not a Burger King in the ghetto, but like the apocalypse happened, and this is the bombed out ruins of an old Burger King.
Now, I really, I don't want to interrupt this much, but this has to be said. With the creepy NDEs or the creepy out-of-body experiences that are not expected or worked on to achieve, and even some of the coma cases as well, all these things, when there's healing involved, do you see this apocalyptic surrounding that the people discuss? I've seen it a lot. I mean, enough. Like, again, these aren't things I could just say, oh, well, the percentage here, percentage there. It's just something I've run across enough where it's a data point, but I can't say, oh, well, of X amount of experiences that, 30, 40, 50% are in these apocalyptic type things. It specifically seems to deal with a healing modality. That's what I've grasped. It's usually someone who's been really messed up through like a car accident or some sort of traumatic event, and in turn, you have this weird apocalyptic situation that someone walks into. Either it's like a hotel or a building with a bunch of doors and or like an abandoned hospital, or in this case, he's at a Burger King. So, again, just make of it what you will, but there's enough behind it that there's some sort of pattern there. some sort of data trend to be aware of.
A Burger King in the ghetto, but like the apocalypse happened, and this is the bombed out ruins of an old Burger King. It was 2 stories, and it had that very common Burger King color scheme, the more grayish one. I think it's a little older now, but it was grayish with blue and your typical Burger King colors. Most of the building was gone. There was a room inside. Now, this Burger King, from the very first moment, I knew was very foreboding. I knew it was dangerous. I kind of knew I was going to die, because that's how nightmares work. Your subconscious is creating it, so of course you are aware. Your brain is doing all the work. So the whole time, you just live in a giant foreshadow. You know what's going to happen, but there's nothing you can do. And I think that's why we get so full of fear in nightmares, where all we see is darkness. Because we know there's something in that darkness, because our subconscious put something there.
That's profound. That's profound. And I agree with him. Totally agree with him. Just hear that again.
There's nothing you can do. You just live in a giant foreshadow. You know what's going to happen, but there's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do.
I think that's why we get so full of fear in nightmares, where all we see is darkness. Because we know there's something in that darkness, because our subconscious put something there.
But it's also linked to the Matrix. It's also linked to this whole system that we're in. Okay? That's where the defining difference is. Okay? There's still this connection to the body. Once you're outside of the body in a true way, like through a astral projection or an out-of-body experience where you have control, you realize the power that you have. And the subconscious mind isn't really as much as a factor as it is in something like his experience in a coma. They really are completely different realms or experiences that you can have. And you realize the freaking powerful control that we yield. We're powerful motherfuckers. Real powerful.
We see is darkness. Because we know there's something in that darkness, because our subconscious put something there. And most of the time we get to wake up before we face it. I didn't get that chance. In the room that was remaining in the giant Burger King, there was a 4-armed mech. Or to further simplify that, a robot that you could pilot. That's what a mech is. It was a big bubble robot. It had a big bubble dome that you sat in. Think 1950s style kind of, what's the future gonna look like?
Okay, so see those of you who aren't aware, there's a video game, an old video game called MechWarriors. Now, see on the image here, I put this guy next to the right of first. That's kind of what it is, except that like the human body is contained within like the head of the robot, and it's like a big thing, and you control it, through a computer or whatever, or like, yeah, you get the point. I don't want to drone on too much, but I just wanted to put it out there for those who may not be aware.
It was a big bubble robot. It had a big bubble dome that you sat in. Think 1950s style kind of, what's the future gonna look like? Kind of something like that. It had 4 arms and short legs, but the legs were good enough to do what they did. I couldn't pilot it. I knew I was supposed to, because dreams, but I couldn't pilot it, and I knew something was coming. I didn't know what yet it looked like. The subconscious mind did a pretty good job of hiding that from me until the time came. But I knew something was coming. So I jumped in the robot, and I figured out how to close the dome, and I figured out how to turn it on. And then the things came. I could hear them coming while I'm furiously pounding on the the controls, trying to figure the fucking thing out. And I knew they were going to kill me. I knew that's all they existed for. I knew that was their whole reason for being, was to kill me, specifically me. And you could hear them, these horrifying roars, inhuman, unanimal, alien. And they burst in from this basement area. Like, the ruined Burger King had the room that remained, and then these things came from some kind of basement entrance, which had this entire... I'll get into that later. They get to the machine, and I can't move the thing. I can't defend myself. They tear it open. They tear me out, and they tear me limb from limb. And I felt every ounce of it. I screamed. I screamed and I screamed and I screamed. And I knew I was dreaming. I knew I was trapped in nightmares. But there was nothing I could do about it. I couldn't stop it. I didn't wake up like you do every time before they can do the damage, before they can kill you. There's an old question: if you die in your dreams, do you die in real life? No. What you do is you loop back to the beginning.
So, imagine that. Loop, loop, loop. Being teared out of this MechWarrior outfit. Over and over and over again. On a loop. And I think he mentions that it's like almost the duration is rough, you know, in his head, even though there's no time, is about 2 minutes. And just imagine experiencing that, you know, week in, week out. And then the other thing that he's going to talk about later, for a month. Again, no time, but he's being tortured beyond belief.
If you die in your dreams, do you die in real life? No. What you do is you loop back to the beginning. And you start over again. So the second time I went into the Burger King and I went up to the robot and I got in it faster. I got the dome down, I got it started. I already knew how to do that. And I started learning how to move it, how to control it, how to operate it. If you've ever seen movie Edge of Tomorrow, I think it's called. It's got Tom Cruise in it. He dies a lot and he keeps reliving the same thing, but he learns more each time he relives the same moments. It's kind of like that, but unlike the movies, there's nothing good. You don't eventually learn to be the hero. You just lose differently. The second time the apes came,
you just lose differently.
The second time the apes came, it took them a little longer because I knew how to move and I tried to run. And I'm going to take a moment to describe them. They had 4 arms too, and I would say they were around 11 feet tall or so, and they have these long, flat, shovel-like heads. Like, they had stuff under here with tufts of like hanging matted fur, disgusting, filthy things, gray. Like sewagey gray water gray. And they had this long, impossible mouth of teeth with the, think about like those gums that you see on dogs when they're, and you see like the drool coming down. They had that going on. But mostly I saw their heads. The top of their heads was flat, and it went down like a flat pane and kind of like into an arrow shape, almost like a smooth, like it went down kind of like that. And they would slope forward, hulking fucking things, horrifyingly hulking, and just covered in fur.
Okay, so just the first thing that comes to my mind when he's talking, I think about the elongated skulls that we've seen appear throughout Earth. Now, is that what's being represented? Probably not. But it's just something to think about because he's talking about fur and then the jaw and the different teeth. But just thought I'd throw it out there. Just something to think about. Not saying anything about it. Just other than that, it's an observation.
That's what was coming after me. Endless numbers of these things. And I tried to learn how to fight them. The second time, they got me. Again, they tear me out of the fucking mech, and they would rip me limb from limb. I would feel it. I would scream. I would try to wake up. I would do every trick in the book to try to wake up. And instead, I would thoop, back to the fucking beginning. I can't leave. I am compelled to go into that Burger King. I can't stop myself. I am going mad in here because I know what's going to happen, and I cannot stop my body from going into that fucking Burger King and learning how to pilot that stupid fucking mech more and more and more. And I died every single time. I learned to fight back. Just like the movies, I learned to be the hero. I learned to get over the pain of death. To try and learn to get over it, to fight. Guess how much it changed? Nothing. I didn't kill a single ape thing. They are unkillable. They are the unstoppable machine of pain and fear that came from your own fucking mind, from the darkest places in your subconscious.
You notice how he uses the term machine. Well, he also talks about later on in the next segment about a machine, and it's more horrifying than this. Okay? And what do we take with machine? We assume something artificial. We assume some sort of, it's not like there's no soul, spirit, essence behind it. It's an illusion, okay? And there are a lot of illusions here, and there are a lot of illusions over in the astral as well. There's no difference. There's no difference. It's just screwed up beyond belief that he went through. But anyways.
Your own fucking mind, from the darkest places in your subconscious. You cannot kill that. That is a part of you. And I never got to kill them. They tore me apart. Over and over and over again. And I would come back to this Burger King. I would leave this place. I would shift into different scenarios. But throughout my coma nightmares, I would pay visits to this goddamn Burger King. And do battle with these horrifying creatures. Again and again, and these creatures would follow me through other scenarios too. They would come for me. So I mentioned that this Burger King had like a basement thing. As I learned how to fight, the biggest thing I learned how to do was to escape them. And I could keep it up for a while. I got pretty good at operating my robot, and I would dive down into that basement section, which turned out to be like these big concrete walkways with pipes all over the place, and sometimes it would be like catwalks, metal catwalks, like you've seen horror movies where the villain is walking across the metal catwalk over a stage or something, and he's going to drop a sandbag on the actress or whatever. It's like those kind of catwalks, except there's just nothing beneath them, just inky blackness, which is the exact same thing that surrounded the Burger King. I couldn't leave the Burger King because there was nothing to leave to. That scenario was that scenario, and that's all that my subconscious created. A little tiny playground to torture me. I got good with that mech. I learned how to like grab onto the piping, and instead of running with the little stubby legs, I would like do like the Tarzan thing, and I would swing along those pipes and grab the next pipe and swing, and I would haul ass. I would fly, and I would turn around and I would try to swing at them, stop them, kill them, anything. The best I ever did was slow them down a little bit, enough to keep getting away for a little bit longer, just to get ripped apart again. My first dream, before I split off to the other bits, before I saw the other things, before I dealt with the machine, the The very first horror broke me. I went mad. I lost my mind. I was stuck with those things for days. Or maybe minutes, I don't know, time being what it is. But it felt like an eternity. To die and die and die and die. And it only takes a few minutes every loop. A few minutes. Imagine a single day of this. Now imagine days.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Imagine going through this for a fucking month. A month. And wait till you hear the next part in segment 3.
Now imagine days. I lost my mind. And I became broken. And you would think maybe, hey, this is where it stops because you've reached your peak. You can't suffer anymore. And you would be so wrong. Maybe this is why I've been putting this video off. Talking really in depth about what I went through. Because of what it did to me. This is nothing. It's going to get so much worse. The things that haunt me still are yet to come.
This is nothing.
This was the Burger King dream. This was the ape monsters. This was only the beginning. I'll see you guys next time for part 2, where we're going to dig into a lot of the torture stuff, the imprisonment, maybe the Great Machine, but I'm thinking the Great Machine is going to have an episode all its own.
Okay, so he was imprisoned from the jump. But again, different states of mind. You know, you can't compare an NDE and this coma experience with the same thing. You just can't. They're not the same. They're different. It's like a lucid dream versus an out-of-body experience or astral travel experience.
That's going to be the one that takes me somewhere dark. Alright guys, thank you for watching. I'll have the next video up as soon as I can. Sorry you had to wait so long. If you've ever met anybody that has been through an anesthetic coma nightmare, be there for them. What they've been through, I can't imagine. They can't imagine what I've been through. I can't imagine what they've been through. It's a horror I don't wish on anyone.
So that is segment 2. Now we're going to move on to segment 3. And this is the one that, I mean, the whole thing killed me. But when I heard this, it crushed me to the core. And I've listened, this is the 3rd time I'm listening to all these. And, you know, if you're a parent, you know, again, just viewer discretion advised across the board for all this. So let's get into it. This guy. You know, I when you listen to him, you wanna, like, I've been tempted to reach out to him and explain, or at least talk about what I feel is going on or what I know is going on. And but you think about, you know, the guy's got a daughter, a wife. He's been through absolute hell and somehow come out the other end, and it's like, I don't even know. Like, this is where like morals and ethics come in, right? Where you don't know, like you really, really, really want to say something, but at the same time, you don't want to send a man over the edge, especially after what he's been through. And okay, let's just go. Let's do this.
Hello, YouTube. So that looks a little foggy. Let me wipe that off of my shirt like a parent would. Nice and get that nice and there we go. It's nice and clean now. It's nice and clean. I haven't been putting out content on my channel for a long time now. I occasionally release these brief little videos saying, oh, hey, I'm back, I'm going to do stuff, and then I don't. And I'm gone for another month, 2 months, whatever. This is why. And this is very spur of the moment. And if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. It's time to talk about the worst coma nightmare I ever had. In my experience, in my previous video you heard, I was down for a month. I experienced my own death. I don't know how many times, countless times. I felt it all. It was terrible. Horror inflicted upon myself. The worst dream didn't have anything to do with hurting me. And it's the one that's gonna, you know what? I hope it doesn't haunt me. I hope after today, some of this weight comes off my chest. God, I don't want to talk about this damn thing. I think I need to. I think I need to face it. Like out loud. So in my previous video, you heard about the apes, the ruins of the Burger King and everything that I died in, how I got ripped apart. There were other videos, or not other videos, but other nightmares where I was trapped in various scenarios. I was tortured, imprisoned, otherworldly things that I might or may not talk about at some future day. They're not really important. They terrified me. They horrified me, drove me mad, but they're not the machine.
Okay, so again, trapped. He doesn't get into this, as I mentioned earlier. He doesn't get into the whole trap part and all that stuff. Like there's a whole segment missing, but this is really deep stuff.
Terrified me. They horrified me, drove me mad, but they're not the machine. And the machine is a terrible thing. And I think that all of us has a great machine waiting in our subconscious. It's our very worst fear turned into this gigantic machine that spreads as far as the eye can see, and I'm doing it. Here we go. It was like an Iowa cornfield, except instead of corn, it was this machine that came up to about your shoulders, okay? And it was covered in this white floppy cloth. Underneath the cloth were these grinding motors that spun chewing blades and big blocky teeth that crushed and gnashed things. And the only purpose of this fucking thing, all right, remember, this thing is everywhere, all pervasive. As far as you can see in every direction, there is this machine. And there's the only purpose of this machine was to chew up my then infant daughter. Thousands upon thousands, millions of copies of her, endless copies of my infant daughter, my little baby girl. And the things that fed her to the machine were demon versions of her that were laughing. And I was there, I was aware, like you would if you were lucid dreaming, but I couldn't do anything. I couldn't stop anything. And God, I was feeding the machine too. I fed my own daughter to that thing, and I couldn't stop it. I couldn't make myself stop. And this is why I haven't been making videos. Because I promised I would talk about this, and this haunts me. It haunts me so fucking deeply. How do you talk about that?
Yeah.
You know, you're inside your own head and you're screaming at yourself to stop. You're doing everything in your power to wake up, to kill yourself, to make your heart stop, to do anything to stop what's happening, to stop hurting her, to stop feeding the thing, to stop hearing her screams in all directions as she's dying and being ripped apart, and also hearing demon versions of her laughing at you for doing it.
All right, again, like I hate to interrupt this part, but I have to. I want you to listen to what he has to say here.
You know, you're inside your own head and you're screaming at yourself to stop. You're doing everything in your power to wake up, to kill yourself, to make.
All right, so he's talking about how, you know, he's aware that there's some sort of connection to the body that needs to be disconnected back on Earth.
You're doing everything in your power to wake up, to kill yourself, to make your heart stop, to do anything to stop what's happening, to stop hurting her, to stop feeding the thing, to stop hearing.
To stop feeding the thing. Feeding. This goes to the whole Loosh thing. Just think about how much Loosh they got out of this one. This poor guy. Again, Loosh is the energy extraction that we are with while here. Like that's the whole purpose, is that extraction of our energy. Lifetime after lifetime, until we find ourselves.
You're doing everything in your power to wake up, to kill yourself, to make your heart stop, to do anything to stop what's happening, to stop hurting her, to stop feeding the thing, to stop hearing her screams in all directions as she's dying and being ripped apart, and also hearing demon versions of her laughing at you for doing it, for making it happen, for helping them. I fear that more than anything. I'm not afraid of death anymore. What I went through in my coma nightmares erased my existential dread pertaining to me, you know, personally, like dying, whatever. It's not going to be pleasant, whatever. I've been there. It's fine. But being trapped back there, facing that machine, with no ability to change or stop anything, I'm so fucking afraid of that. I have a living will that stipulates, you know, if I'm in a coma, you need to pull the fucking plug, because do not put me back there. Do not. Don't do that to me. Let me die. Because facing that machine would destroy me. I would so much more rather be dead. And this is why I haven't been putting out the videos, because I don't want to talk about this. It's to admit that I fed the machine. Even I wasn't in control, but even still, I did it. It was the most horrible thing that's ever happened to me, is to have that nightmare. The others pale in comparison. And I think deep down inside of all of us, there's a machine waiting, and it's just ticking over in the sun, waiting. Doesn't matter if you're good or evil, it's just there. Because to go to that part of your mind, it's just to suffer. It is to face your most grand fears, and they will be amplified beyond your imagination. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in hell. I don't believe you can go to that place when you die, but there is something very similar to hell when you live, and it lives inside your own mind.
Hear that? Hear that? Listen again.
Believe in hell, hide beyond your imagination. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in hell. I don't believe you can go to that place when you die, but there is something very similar to hell when you live.
There is very something similar to when you live. And he's an atheist. So this is another reason why I hesitated on reaching out. And I looked at some of his Reddit posts and stuff. I mean, how do you talk about something like what we talk about here on the channel? And, I wouldn't want to be responsible for triggering somebody who's been through this type of hell. I just couldn't live with myself. So, but I want to tell him so bad.
You die, but there is something very similar to hell when you live, and it lives inside your own mind, and it's just waiting. And I hope to hell I can save someone from having to go there, to save anyone from that kind of suffering. I work very hard to take care of my little girl now. I will never make her suffer, which I'm sure that machine was a reflection of my fear of making her suffer, of hurting her, of being a bad father, of being a terrible person to her, or ruining her life or something, like, that was my
horrible. He shouldn't feel that, but I understand how he does. Oh my God, he does not deserve to feel this way.
And I want to tell her I'm sorry, but it's not logical because it didn't happen. I didn't do it to her. It was in my head, but coma nightmares, they're so vivid. They're the most vivid kind of nightmare you've ever had in your life. It is real. You are there. I remember how it fucking smelled. I remember that it was hot. And I remember the sound more than anything else. I remember the fucking sound, the deafening roar of my daughter dying. I'm sorry, Hannah. I'm so sorry. That's it. I can't do this anymore. Thank you for watching.
This is why when you go through things like this, that they're gut wrenching. But kind of let this example and the previous examples that we've gone over in these negative experiences, the hell-like experiences, this absolute traumatic insanity that this man had to endure, and the others, and just realize that the same system that is providing the love and light experience is providing this experience. The same system. There's no difference. So the system that we want to claim is all for our spiritual development and love and light and growth and blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing. It's all the same thing going on. There's no difference. This is what we're up against. This is the sick, nasty, vile, atrocious system that we have all incarnated into. And unless we release our attachments and say enough is enough, I'm going my own way as an individual and standing up for myself, then the way I see it is that the writing is on the wall, that they'll most likely result in another reincarnation period here. And then the memory is wiped. You go through the soul school, you get judged, and the sinning and the karma, and then you go through this whole soul school thing all over again. Then you get prodded and needled to pick out a sick life script. Imagine you're in this guy's shoes. Just imagine. Imagine being in this guy's shoes and those who, your guides, your ascended masters, your council is looking out for you. And you're supposed to grow and learn off of this experience and deal with what he went through. Hello? Where's the logic? Hello? Anybody in there? I mean, really, it's insanity. It's total insanity. It really is. When is enough is enough. Stand up for yourself. We were talking in the chat today in Discord, and again, no judgment. But there's a few people in there talking about how, we're forced in this and forced in that. Don't give in. Don't give this system what it wants. Don't wave the white flag and think that you're powerless. We are so damn powerful, it's not even funny. It's insane how powerful we are. And yet we submit ourselves. We bow to these illusions that run this psychotic nut house. Lifetime after lifetime. And just remember, fake it till you make it. I don't even care if you believe it or not. Just fake it. Believe it. Force yourself to believe that you are powerful, that you are the one who is in control. Figure out a way to convince yourself somehow that you are the person in control, that you're the true essence in control, and that you are controlling your freaking destiny, not some illusionary system that is trying to get you back here, or at least at a minimum within the matrix system. There's no good that can come out of any of that. And just think about this too. We live in a time where we are so freaking lucky, it's not even funny. We are so damn lucky. Even though it's a total nut house out there, we're beyond lucky because we have enough data. We have so much proof to support the Matrix reincarnation soul trap. It's undeniable. It cannot be denied for those who actually spend the time and again, if you're new, welcome. Please, welcome aboard. And I know I'm a little fired up, okay? But I get fired up because these things are happening all over us. And then, of course, we have our life experience. But just remember, if you're on the fence or new here, just hang in there with me. Go through the Matrix Reincarnation playlist, Soul Trap playlist. I know it's long. I know there's a lot of hours to go through, but I lay it all out. I mean, to figure this out, sometimes it's easy for people. Sometimes it may take a year or two, maybe more. And I know we all have jobs and different things to do, and it takes time. But I promise you, if you just hang in there with me and with Wayne Bush at trickedbythelight.com and Dan at overwatchproject.com and Overwatch channel on YouTube and on Odyssey and blah, blah, blah. Okay? Hang in there with us three. You'll see it. I promise you'll see it. Look, the other thing I want to mention is this. It's really, really important to say this. There are other people out there talking about the soul trap. All right? And trust me, I have seen and listened to them all. All of them. There's not one person that someone's mentioned to me that I am not aware of, or Wayne or Dan is not aware of. We've heard of them all. Okay? And I'm telling you, like, for me personally, now Wayne and Dan may think differently, but for me personally, I only trust two people. Dan and Wayne. And of course myself. Okay? Because I've gone through all this information and I realize who is deceiving us, who actually means well, who is not linked to the parasitical system. If you think this information isn't in the soul trap field, think again. It's everywhere. Just like all of the other areas of research that we go into. We're going to be hit with roadblocks and all sorts of fuckery along the way to try and distract us and get us thinking in a certain direction. If someone like Wes Penray is telling you to, go between the grid and do this and turn around and blah blah. If someone is telling you where to go, is if they have the answer, they should be shut down. I mean, just move on. If someone is giving you all this fantasy that can't be backed up, what do I do here? I back up my research through experiencer data. Cold, hard data. Patterns, trends, data points, all this stuff. It's all here for a reason to try and say, hey, this is what we got. This is happening now. This isn't old channeled Palladian bullshit. It's not. This is coming right from the source, the system. We know that these experiences are happening. There are certain patterns that line up time and time and time again. Now, someone will say, oh, well, the patterns line up with the Palladians and this and that. Well, yeah. Well, where's that coming from? Channeled information. And those are the ones that are saying, oh, the Matrix Reincarnation Soul Trap is shut down. It's no longer active. Get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. That new age bullshit. Let's just wake up and be honest with each other for once. When are we going to, stop with the hope porn? We're just going to hope that this is true, hope that that is true? Or believe in this and believe in that with zero proof. Zero. Literally nothing. Except maybe a few clowns here and there passing off information as if it's truth. And then what happens? Oh, it keeps getting repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated. And eventually, oh my God, it's got to be true. Everyone else is talking about it. But where is the source? Where is it coming from? Here on this channel, I do it week in and week out. It's experiencer data. That's how we find the freaking answer to all this. We see the deception up front and center. No more bullshit. Straight to the source. Now, could there be some clowns that kind of weasel their way in there and give us a bullshit NDE here and there or something like that? Sure. But does that make up for everything? No. I'm not going to sit here and say that every single case that I've gone over is kosher and on the up and up. No. But you know what it is? It's the long-term data. It's the long-term patterns that show up time and time and time again. The people who aren't writing books Although I do cover some people that write books or do documentaries and all this crap, okay? But then there are the people who have zero skin in the game. Nothing. Absolutely zero. And they're all saying the same shit. They're all saying the same stuff over and over and over again. Those are patterns. Those patterns show that we are being deceived. And then it's common sense that we're being deceived while we're here. We're being tricked. That's it. That doesn't mean that we're hopeless and helpless and that we can't get out of this situation, because we sure as hell can. But we shouldn't be taking advice from something exterior that is telling us where to go. The only thing I talk about on this channel time and time again is sovereignty and liberation. Standing your ground for you, not allowing something exterior to you tell you where you should go. And let's just hope. Let's just hope and twiddle our thumbs and whistle while we walk and hope that everything's going to be okay. It's up to you, my friends. It's up to you. You know, I can only talk so much and bitch so much till the end of time, and it doesn't mean anything, because at the end of the day, everyone has to do their own research. Everyone has to be honest with themselves and realize that the whole love and light thing is not as it seems. It's just not the case. I wish it was. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I am. Okay? I'm sorry. It is what it is. All right. Anyways, my rant is over with that. When I get in these types of cases, I get fired up, and, you know, I apologize for the swearing and all that stuff, but it is what it is. If you want to come and join us after the stream, which is coming close, feel free to. We'll be in the Discord server and the voice chat. Would love to have a swing on by and say hello. And also, I want to remind people out there who are new or maybe not haven't done it yet, I have 2 YouTube backup channels just in case something should happen here. And something did happen a couple weeks ago. So, you know, I'm just putting it out there. I got those 2 channels there. I'm not going to harass you or bother you with endless uploads, but I do suggest subscribing and hitting the bell for all notifications, because I keep getting messages from people saying I'm not getting notifications. The only thing I can suggest really is to make sure that the bell is hit to all notifications, because other than that, I don't know why you wouldn't get it. So yeah. And the other thing is I have a Instagram where I've done 3 exclusive videos on Instagram about the DMT and NDE connection and the soul trap. Obviously, they all kind of link together, and it's also an alternative way for us to stay in touch. I also have a Twitter where I'll announce the streams in advance. Also do that on Instagram, obviously. I have a D Live. I have an Odyssey account where my videos are saved as well, and I do exclusive live streams over on Odyssey every once in a while, and plan to do one again in the next month or 2 for certain things that are not allowed here. And I also have YouTube memberships. Anyone interested in getting some extra content each month for level 2 and 3 supporters, there's a whole backlog of videos, and I do a dedicated live stream for each of you who join once a month, and it's really deep dives into certain topics. Now, also remember that I do not withhold information. If it's important and related to the soul trap, all of that will always be free. So please keep that in mind. But if you want a little extra added content and a more personalized experience every month, feel free to check it out. And again, like I said, there's a backlog of videos dating back to last October, and then a bunch of bonus videos in between, as well as the monthly live streams. And also have a Stream Elements account, which is a way to if you're interested in supporting the channel through a credit card, that's available as well. And all this stuff is located in the description tab. But again, everything important will always remain free. And I thank each and every one of you out there who have watched, shared, and liked the comment or liked the content and commented. All that stuff helps. So even just, we got to try to get the word out there, my friends. That's like the most important thing. That's the reason why I spend so much time each week dedicated to sharing this information, is because of how important it is. Because I think in my head, I don't know how long we're going to have access to this open internet. I really don't. I hope it's for a long time to come, but I don't know. You don't know. And the way I see it is the more people we can talk to and get this information out to, the better. That's the reason why I dedicate so much time, is that the message, what's going on here, is bigger than all of us. It's bigger than all of us. So if you don't mind sharing the content in comment sections, maybe you run across someone who leaves an interesting comment, or if you have a blog or a Facebook or an Instagram or a Twitter or a Reddit or whatever, Telegram. I know some people are sharing on Reddit, but Telegram, there's a few shares. But if you're out on Telegram, maybe you can share some videos, share some comments, or some content. Keep saying comments. And then there's also Wayne Bush at trickedbythelight.com and Dan at Overwatch. Again, that's who I trust. That's who I feel is doing the best work here in this field. And as far as I'm concerned, almost everyone else outside of there is way off or in the wrong direction. It doesn't necessarily mean they're bad people or wrong or this or that, but I take this very seriously because just for example, I'm not going to rant too much longer, but just for example, honestly, I never expected the channel to start to grow to the level that it has. But when you do something like this, there has to be a moral and ethical compass within you. And I just don't see that with a lot of the other people. They just say whatever with zero way to back it up. They just throw it out there and hope that, it sticks with you. That's not what I'm about. If you're new or been around, then you'll see that everything is based on experience or data and common sense logic with each of our individual experiences while here on Earth. And that's how this thing really connects. And that's how it becomes so obvious to see. But I need your help to spread the word. I really do. Just like Wayne needs your help. Dan needs your help. We really do. Because, again, this thing is way bigger than any of us. So the last couple things I'll say is, again, we're going to have a Discord voice chat after the stream in a couple minutes. And I'll also want to thank Michael so much for his very kind super chat. Says, love your rants, FC, speaking truth. Thank you so much, brother. Very much appreciated. You've always been a great supporter and a good friend. It's always good to see you, and I look forward to maybe chatting with you in the voice chat after on Discord. So, all right. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much, each and every one of you. And just so you know, there'll be no Saturday show tomorrow for the third week in a row, but we are going to have a Sunday show, and I'm planning that to be at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's possible. It's possible that it'll change. But we'll definitely have a show on Sunday, June 5th, 2022. And Dan from Overwatch should be returning Friday, June 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern time as well. And yeah, so we'll leave it at that for now. Thank you so much. Much love to each and every one of you. Take care of yourself. Don't work too hard. We'll see each other again real soon. See you on Sunday. Or in the Discord voice chat in a few minutes.